Yeah. Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast, man. And today we have a very special guest. It is obviously Giants week, so I had to go and get my guy Paul Dottino. Excuse me, I can't speak today, but Paul, it's a pleasure to have you on. How's it going, my man?
Good to talk to you. Happy New Year. Glad to be here. And just saw you eat cheese steaks and even a pretzel for lunch today.
Look at that. You were ready for this show. You came prepared. I love it. Now, I want to get into talking some football, but before I do, you have an illustrious history. And I want to kind of say, many people don't maybe know this, but my whole family is originally from New York. My whole family are diehard Giants fans. So I've heard your voice. I have seen your articles many times before, even though I am an Eagles fan. So this is, like I said before, an honor and a pleasure to have you on. So I'm excited to talk some Eagles Giants. Now, before we get into any specifics, I have to ask, especially for my audience, is there any rumblings? Is there any feelings that Dabble may rest some players going into this week, or are we expecting the full cast of characters?
Well, I'll answer that in two ways. Number one, good, because the Giants have scratched and clawed and really fuel to get to this point. They have had so many injuries during the course of this, really had a scrape to be able to get to the playoffs. As you know, this weekend at home against the Indianapolis Colts, and they've had so many lists, but guys who are just playing nicked up, even guys who are not, but are really fighting through a lot of bumps and bruises. So this is their team right now as they try to catch their second win for the playoffs. And as you to the number 6 seed, no matter what happens this weekend, they're number 6, number 3 in the first round of the playoffs. No matter what happens at the link, opinion, the Giants should rest an awful lot of their starters. We said that. What will Coach Brian Daboll do? He has said throughout that he has not decided yet, but that he will do what is best for his football team. Outside interference, he will not base things on history or precedent. This is best for his team in this particular situation. Now, it is my understanding from talking, look, I've been covering this team for 40 years time. And I will tell you that the medical staff has told me he's the easiest coaches that they've ever had to work with, because he is very agreeable with suggestions. And as you already know, the Giants are very conservative. They don't play around with injuries. Some teams will push a guy out onto the field. Giants, they're ultra conservative. Daboll, who is with the training staff, he virtually takes every suggestion that they had in cohesive with those guys. So, you could give the guy the green, but we'd like to give you a yellow light. And he's very quick to give guys days off during practice, call them, or veteran days off, maintenance days, if you will. He'll take trainers' suggestions in the blink of an eye. So when the training staff gives him the long list of guys who use a rest or a second bye week going into the playoffs, is going to read that list and give those guys. That's the way I would interpret it. So I don't think the Eagles on Sunday.
Well, that's something to hear. So we'll see what happens. Now, looking at the full year, the Giants are sitting at 9-6-1. The beginning of this year, I did feel that there was going to be an improvement. I felt like bringing a guy like Dabble in was going to make your team better, just because. But I didn't expect it to be this good. You guys are now back in the playoffs, like you said. No matter what happens, is it just Dable, or what do you really accredit this turnaround for the New York Giants to?
There are a number of things. Brian Dable certainly has done a sensational job as the head, the quarterback, Daniel Jones, to get to the next level where Jones is now of the New York Giants. There's no doubt in my mind that they will get him an extension. Joe Shane, obviously, him and Dable came down from Buffalo together in unison with everything that they wanted. They I don't know, more than half the roster in 1 year, despite not having very much. They turned over about half of the roster. And what they always preach is tough and dependable players. Smart being the number one quality. Is that important? Because he brought over Mike Kafka, the quarterback's offensive coordinator. He brought over Wink Martindale, who had just parted ways with to be his defensive coordinator, and both of these guys have been since. Then on top of that, a team that has been ravaged with injuries and has had many times over to get to 9-6-1. Well, the staff, the position coaches deserve as much credit as anybody does. Team being able to compete and to win enough games. It has been a top to bottom team effort by every coaching staff. And let's not forget some of these players who they had 12 from the start of the season who were either not playing or on the scrap heap, floating around looking for a job. Guys like Jalen Smith, guys like Fabian, like Nick McLeod, Isaiah Hodgins, guys who are Jason Pinnock. These guys were out of a job. And the Giant injuries mounted. These guys had to step up and play and had to start. Also, the positional coaches, they've done enough to make the playoffs. You may not be the coach of the year, but he's got the coaching staff of the year.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. Like I said, going into this year, I did see it, being I saw them taking the next step. Again, like I said, I didn't know what that necessarily meant, and I will even go as far as saying towards the end of Daniel Jones' rookie year, I had high hopes. And obviously, I'm not a Giants fan, but I thought that he was going to be pretty good. He showed you some things. The second year fell off a little bit. This year, now getting a good coach out there, I feel like he's shown us some things. And hearing you say, there's no doubt in your mind, I think quoting you in one of your other podcasts, I think that you just did last week, you said 200% he's going to be the guy moving forward for your Giants. What are some things that you've seen out of Daniel Jones that maybe, solidify that thought in your mind?
He has improved his completion percentage each and every year. He touched down the turnover ratio and knocked down his percentage of turnovers. He has shown more escapability out of the pocket. He has shown to throw on the run as he extends plays. He has also shown run with the football. I think he's up to almost 700 yards this year. Right now as a runner, decision-making has been better. His accuracy, which of course is part of the range, his accuracy has been even better. And let's not forget his toughness. Finale against Philadelphia. This is the first year of his that he's actually going to play every single game. I mean, what? There's not one item where Daniel, every single facet of his game has the arrow pointing up. Take a genius to figure out. To be frank with you, by the middle of this season, a lock that he was going to get an extension as long long as he did not get hurt up going to the shelf. That, to me, was the only question the Giants had left. But I knew he was their franchise quarterback. It was just a matter of could he get, and obviously he's done that. I don't know what so many Johnny-come-latelys had to wait for in the papers, and then some on-air personnel saying, well, we think the Giants. Really? Did you know the sun comes up in the east?
Yeah, I do, like I said, I don't want to say I like him, but I did like the game that Daniel Jones brought. Like I said, especially towards that latter part of his rookie season, I saw something there. And it's nice to, it's nice to have an NFC East that's so competitive. I know that we're all supposed to be, enemies and supposed to be, opponents and everything, but it's nice that every game actually matters. Like I'm actually worried to go against the Giants, and I think vice versa. Nobody wants to go into a game that it's like, oh, we gotta go. I don't want to be the Patriots, right? I don't want to just walk all over our division every year and just walk into the playoffs. I like the competition. Maybe I'm crazy for that, but I like the competition. Now, another guy that brings out the...
Yeah, it's
I'm
fun
sorry.
when the NFC East has the rivalry again. Puts juice to the games,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. This is one of the more fun ones as well. Like the Eagles and the Giants, it's kind of lost its luster the past maybe decade or so because it's kind of switched more towards the Cowboys a little bit. But I think that this, especially for the fans, is a big moment. This is a big game no matter what. We don't want to say we lost to the Giants. The Giants don't want to say they lost to the Eagles. Now another guy that makes that a little bit hard for a lot of us Philadelphians and Pennsylvanians is Saquon Barkley, man. I'm a Penn State fan, and it hurts me deep in my soul every time I have to see him go out there and put up a big numbers for you guys. But he has been able to come back from an injury and has looked like Saquon Barkley. I think that's fair to say. He's had a great year. I want to kind of know, how has he been utilized? Is it different from what we've seen before with him? And just what can we expect as Eagles fans? What can we expect that may be different from past years coming into this game Sunday?
Well, this year most resembles his 3 1,000-yard seasons in his 3 healthiest years in the league, where he was badly banged up. Obviously, he missed most of that 1 year, and then the other year, all season long. So 3 of his 5 seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards rush. 2 injuries just totally short-circuited him and derailed him. So this you get with Barkley. This is the same Barkley, basically, only a small than what you saw as a rookie. The big difference is, as a rookie, this year he's not going to come anywhere near close to that. They haven't as often. And the reason is the Giants have a better offensive line now. They were forced to constantly dump the ball off to him as protection. And he was the safety valve. So they had to throw it to him. Like his pass route was about the only route that was quick enough to get hands. So they didn't have a lot of choice. But better. The O-line is better. The pass protection's better. And I thought they would throw to him a little bit more downfield than they have. He's been voted back to the Pro Bowl again, and it's well deserved.
Definitely. Yeah, Saquon, Saquon's one of those
better.
guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to want one other difference in his game. He's actually improved as a blocker. He was not very good at that when he came out of Penn State. He's actually out this year with the Giants. That would be a significant improvement that doesn't show up.
Yeah, I think for any running back, especially coming out of Penn State, it wasn't like they really wanted him staying back there, pass blocking. I mean, it was electric. So I mean, no fault of his. But no, that's something I think that it comes with time. I think that over the years, any running back, no matter how great you are, you got to find a way to stay on that field. And, if you can't block, third downs become very sparse for a lot of these running backs. So I'm glad that he's, adding to his repertoire. Hopefully he doesn't add too much to his repertoire against us Eagles. He can wait maybe another week or two to keep adding to his repertoire.
He's been in the second half of the season dinged up, about midway through the year. He banged up his neck a little bit. So to be frank with you, I would expect he flag lists that I was talking about from the trainers. And so you probably have Gary Brightwell and Matt Breida on Sunday anyway.
Okay, hey, I'll take that. I'll take a healthy dose of both of them. I'll take that any day. Now, defensively, I want to switch gears to the defense. Another guy I don't really want to talk about, but unfortunately we have to because you guys drafted him. But Kayvon Thibodeaux, Kayvon has really come on hot this year. Looking very, very good. And he's been balling. So kind of talk to me about, because when you look at Kayvon's, I believe it could be like his fourth or fifth game with a pass deflection, which is kind of weird to read for a defensive end. But how is he being utilized? How can we as Eagles fans and the Eagles team kind of get ready for him? What do you guys do with Kayvon that maybe is a little bit different than what we're used to? This isn't Michael Strahan anymore, right? This is a little bit more of an athletic guy, a guy that can kind of do a little bit more of everything. So what is Kayvon for this defense?
Well, you'll see him standing up. He's still an outside linebacker, an edge rusher, if you will. He's not really a defensive linebacker. But the thing about Thibodeaux is the most games he ever played for a team, he's already gone through now that rookie wall and bumps and bruises this year too. So I'm not sure that you're going to see a whole lot of him. But you asked the question. So what I will say about Thibodeaux is this: him to rush. They will use him to cover a tight end man-to-man, to stuff the edge. He's a versatile player. And Wink Martindale being a guy who specializes in versatile players, it's a dream for him to have his lineup, because you never know what Thibodeaux's going to do on any play or rusher. They can line him up in different spots, and they can trick him.
Oh, my thing just froze for a second. Sorry about that. But no, I apologize about that. But that was very true, man. I like Wink. I'm glad that you bring up Wink Martindale, because I think that bringing him to your defense brought that aggression to it, brought that aggressive nature. And you lose a guy like James Bradbury. Obviously, he's having a good year with the Eagles, but you guys have just I don't even want to say nobody's. I feel like that's rude to say, but you guys have injured your way into a lot of great players. Like, who are some of these guys on the defensive side that have kind of been able to keep that together, keep that defense together? Because like you said, you guys have went through a lot of injuries, not just on the offensive side, but on the defensive side as well. Who are some guys that maybe we can look out for this Sunday that maybe we haven't been hearing their name as much?
Well, again, I'm not going to promise you that they'll play, but key guys by far are, it starts with the guys up front. Dexter Pro Bowl as a defensive tackle. And of course, there is your Leonard Williams, who has been banged up this year. A guy who's been durable as an NFL player, but this year has had to really deal with some tough injury. Knee, burner, he's been banged up. Going into this season, he was voted amongst the top 100 players in the league whole. And that shouldn't be a surprise. He's truly an outstanding lineman. So Lawrence, Leonard Williams, they're really the foundation of this defense. And then you have to look to the co-captain Julian Love, who has really flourished in his first year as obviously Xavier McKinney, should have made the Pro Bowl last year, and then this season during the bye week had an auto accident where he injured his hand, just came back. But, he was greatly responsible for the Giants' start at the beginning of the season. And so was Dory Jackson, CB1. He was a number 2 corner behind Bradbury last year. Jackson on the other. Well, when Bradbury had to get cut because of the salary, the Giants made Dory Jackson be their lead corner. He became the number 1 guy. And he was another guy very much one start until he sprained his knee, and he has not been back in the lineup since, practicing now for a week and a half, and I suspect we'll see him in the first round of the playoffs, see him this weekend against Philly. But those would be some of the core guys stepped up. Well, Jalen Smith, he's on the verge of having 100 tackles here in September. He joined the team about a month in when they pulled him off the street, middle linebacker. Landon Collins had a pick 6 last. He was here years ago as a safety. Now he's playing inside linebacker for them in October and has spent most of the season on the practice squad. But now Fabian Moreau, longtime veteran from stepped up, and now he's one of the starting corners. Well, these are the kinds of guys who weren't counted on, but was able to get them coached up to where the Giants have 9 wins this year. I believe the experts out on the other side of the country thought they'd get 6.5.
I will say, I said my preseason bold predictions. One of them was I thought the Giants might end up in second. I thought the Cowboys were going to be way worse than they actually are. Maybe that was just the hate in me. But I actually thought you guys were going to be a lot better than you were last year. And you guys have proven it. It's interesting to watch. It definitely is interesting to watch. Now I have 2 more questions for you, and then I'll let you get out of here. I know you probably got a busy night going on, but look, going into this playoffs, I when I think of the Giants, especially growing up, I think of barely making it to the playoffs and then somehow going on some magical run and winning it all and defying all the odds, right? And you look at this year and you look at this team, and I'm not saying that it gives me that vibe, but you have a good defensive line. You have a top 5 running game. And those are things that you kind of base those runs off. I guess the question I have is there any feeling in New York that this could be something magical at the end of the day? Or is it just, hey, we're happy to be at the party. Let's, keep on growing and developing this team?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Are you talking to the fans or are you talking to the people in the building? The people in the building just preach. They consistently work hard, right? Try to put forth your best foot. See where it goes. The Giants won't put a ceiling on themselves. Now, they're not going to reach a certain goal. They're simply saying, why not us, and ceiling on what we can do, especially now that they've made the playoffs. And I think that's the right attitude. Dable and Shane never promised anybody in late February. They never promised anybody that they were going to make what they said was we're going to try to instill our system, which of course, to Rich's story in Buffalo, let's not kid ourselves. Dable and Shane, the Bills turned it around and came out of the gutter to become a Super Bowl contender, and how to construct the house and pour the concrete. Well, they told people, you'll see a better team. This is step 1, concrete, and start pouring it. Well, what's happened is the concrete is already got the first floor, 2x4 is already built a hell of a lot quicker than anybody now. If you talk to some of the fans, they might be getting a little overly excited. They're probably still somewhat cautious. If you talk to the people in the say, don't put any cap on us. We're going to go out and do everything they want. However far it takes us is how far we're going to go. But as an observer, as a member of the broadcast team, I will tell you, I think it's unreasonable that if they get the Minnesota Vikings in the first round, a team they could go in Minnesota and wound up falling on a last-second single. I don't think it's too much to ask to tell you that the Giants to beat the Minnesota Vikings in the first round. If it turns out that that's their opponent, it gets significantly more difficult for them. But I don't think they're looking at this as that they're just happy to be here. I don't see that at all.
I respect that. That's the attitude you have to have. I think that the Eagles were kind of in that seat last year. You saw obviously adding some weapons, and I'm sure the Giants are going to try and do something very similar, add some weapons to this team. Now you got a little bit of playoff experience under your belt for your quarterback. For some of these younger players, can only go up from there. Hopefully, can only go up from there. Obviously, so I think this will be a good game. Hopefully, both teams play some guys. You know, I'm sure the Eagles are going to really try and go out there and win this one because I know it means something for them. But last question I want to ask you, because like I said, I have followed your work. I can't say obviously I'm an Eagles fan, so I don't listen to every podcast. But your story as a journalist, as a broadcaster, coming out of Fordham, you have a very, very unique story, and one that actually really resonates with me. And I know this has nothing to do with football, and I apologize for that. But I want to ask you, because there's a lot of people that watch this show that, are trying to do shows, trying to do podcasts, trying to work for their favorite team. What's some of the best advice that you could give somebody? Because like I said, your story really does resonate with me. Just hard work. I think, to quote you again, you kicked down the door to get your job. And it's really remarkable, the story. So just, do you have any advice to those that may be wanting to follow in your footstep for any team?
Well, I don't know if it would be the same depending upon the age or where they are in their decision-making process. I think in each different piece of advice. But for anybody who is starting out on do this career or any other career, my feeling was I was on when I was 5 years old, I had determined that I was going to be a Gianter. I was going to cover this team one way or the other. I radio with the legendary Marty Glickman doing the play-by-play. You guys down in Philly have to do in your games, so you can understand the respect that I had for Marty. And I decided that I was going to cover the New York Giants one way, announcing on TV or radio or even in the newspapers. That's what I was going to. The goal was I wanted to be part of the interview process. I wanted to be on the field, work the sidelines, do pregame shows, be in the locker room after the game. I knew when I was 5 that that's what I wanted to do. Back mind for me. And I planned every single step of the way. To high school, to the time I got to college and went to Fordham, I picked Fordham because that I could stay in the New York metropolitan area. That it was a school that had a college radio station that was revered as a radio station, so that when I got there, I would at least have the ability to knock on that door and say to them, we're a college radio station, like to try to cover the team in any which way you would allow. And that's how it started. 83, which was my first year covering the Giants as a student at WFUV FM radio, which is, in my opinion, is the finest college sports department in the country. I know Syracuse may have more, but if you're in the New York metropolitan area, chances are you're a Fordham guy. Syracuse may have other parts of the country, but we own New York. And so I was on a one-track mind, and nothing was going to spill a lot of my own blood along the way. I missed a lot of parties. I missed a lot of things. There were times when I insulted friends and family because I needed to. I can't tell you how many times I missed Thanksgiving dinner because I had to go to Giants. And it's that kind of one-track mind, dedication, relentlessness, intensity, all the things that make a fresher, okay? All of those things were wrapped up in my heart. They're going to get to the quarterback with those traits. I'm going to get my dream. And that would probably be my best advice to someone. Bad enough, then focus hard, be intense, be dedicated. Don't leave any stone unturned to get to it. Sacrifice if it's going to lead you down that path. And the year of covering the team, my 14th straight year of being part of the official broad, and I hope to go on for many, many more years. I want to do at least 50 books. I want to do at least 50 years, and when I get to that, I'll probably want to do at least.
Once you hit one milestone, it's just going to create a new one. That's what I've learned.
Exactly.
Once you hit a number, it's like, all right, well, I'm here.
Right? Keep moving it.
Exactly. You gotta keep moving that goalpost, man. Hey, Paul, I appreciate your time so much. This was a lot of fun, and I'm sure we can definitely chop it up again. But before we get out of here, let them know where they can find your work and where they can follow you.
Well, you guys can always find FAN on Twitter. I don't do TikTok. I don't do Instagram. Okay, I'm an old school guy, but I do Twitter because that's my job. You can also find me on all of the Giants.com platforms for Giants WFAN on 660 here in New York and 101.9 pregame show, the Giants postgame show on radio. You'll find me on the Giants postgame show, both on MSG networks here, regional television, and of course also on Odyssey with the One Giant Step, which is a pod show Morash of CBS Radio Sports, specifically dedicated to the Giants. I'm pretty busy, but it's a good busy.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy that you were able to make some time at it. Really honored, man. Because I know you have a crazy schedule. I'm sure you have like 25 things to do after this, but no, Paul. I appreciate it again, man. And good luck to you for the rest of the season. Good luck to you this year, man. And like I said, reach out and we'll work again. But I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. But we are out of here. Peace.
Yeah, fly was flying on the team. Touchdown, time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird game.